Joining me today to discuss the macro environment as much more is John Livingston, Chief Investment Officer and Investment Director. John, thanks so much for joining us today. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
So let's talk macro, starting with inflation. Last week we saw incoming Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. Interest rates remained unchanged, but there is speculation that they will rise in future. Let's talk to me a little bit about inflation and also where have we got it wrong in the past?
So where inflation is, I think expectations are definitely increasing, both core and headline inflation. Core inflation always lags headline inflation because inflation includes energy and interest rates. Kevin Walsh was brought in as somebody that Trump was expecting to reduce interest rates. But with what's happened with the war, things have definitely changed. There is a high possibility that there could be a surprise on the upside in the next 3 to 6 months, and there could actually be 1 or even 2 interest rate increases in the next 6 to 9 months.
And how do you think this environment that we're in now compares to sort of the past where people have had mis-expectations about the environment?
That's a great question. 2021-22 was a classic example. Now, in 2021, everybody was anchored on 1%, 2% inflation. Inflation ended up hitting 5.7% in 2022. And what ended up happening was all the policymakers were massively behind in their expectations. They were anchored to their previous predictions, so they were very, very slow. The consumer was actually way better at actually predicting what the next inflation data point would actually be. So you had anchoring, you had groupthink, you had people not wanting to look stupid. The net result was in 2022, the NASDAQ was down 33% because of the inflation surprise, and the S&P 500 was down 19%.
So as someone like yourself, you're an experienced investor, both investing for companies and you're in prop book. In this environment then, what are you seeing as some of the short to medium term opportunities?
Right. So if you have a situation where we do actually get inflation surprises, it will then have an impact on the longer duration stocks. So not all AI stocks, for example, could be hit by it, but certainly some of the more speculative ones which don't really have the revenues, and the revenues are further out. The key leaders, you see extremely strong pricing power, so they will continue to perform reasonably well. They would get hit by the inflation surprise, but not as much as some of the others. One of the big key ones that's going to come out today is Micron, which is actually doing its quarterly earnings today. And the markets will be looking at that. How strong is actually this momentum to support the
and so and obviously this has a trickle down effect into other markets. We saw Space 42, positively impacted when SpaceX obviously had its IPO in the US. On the AI side, we have it as the investment, but actually how are you looking at it within your portfolio and portfolio management?
I'm looking at it from different perspectives. So from a macro perspective, I think AI could be one of the biggest deflationary outcomes that could have a massive, massive positive impact going forward for equities and things like this. But in the short term, it's quite inflationary because we aren't getting the benefits of it yet. In terms of AI and what I'm doing in my portfolio, I've worked in markets for 25 years now, and I've maybe got about 15 or 20 different trading strategies, and I honestly can't look at all of them all the time. So what I'm trying to do is automate as many parts of those as possible, also using lots of unstructured data. So getting the AI to actually analyze 500 announcements from CEOs around the world at any point in time, and basically starting to prioritize which ones are the most the greatest opportunities for change, I think would be the way to describe it. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, John, for coming on to join us today. Great to hear about the macro and investing in AI and also its impacts on the portfolio. Pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks.